Hey, 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 welcome to the Mo Mindful Show. I am your host, Dr. Mo, and we have a fantastic guest as we normally do. Tonight we'll be talking about parenting, navigating the trials and triumphs of parenting, and we'll be speaking with the author of the new book, Boundless Love. And this is Miss Juliana Liriano. Um, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit as well. But thank you for joining us. And we hope that some of the information that you hear tonight will be beneficial to you or another parent or even your children as they get older and make that determination whether or not they're going to be a parent. So, without further ado, let me bring on Miss Juliana Iriana.
Hi, Dr. Mo. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. So my name is Juliana Liriano. I'm the author of Boundless Love: The Trials and Triumphs of Parenting. I have two boys myself. One is a adult. He is 24, and my youngest is 19. So they're older kids. So I've been a parent for a long time. I also work in the school system as an occupational therapist, and I work with mostly middle school and high school kids. I also do outpatient at a clinic near my home. I am from Watertown, Connecticut. I was born and raised in Connecticut, so Danbury, Connecticut. Woohoo! So yeah, that's a little about me.
Awesome, awesome. And you're a dog mom too, right?
I am a dog mom. I have a little girl dog. She's right here. She's a cutie.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. I hope that we're going to have a very robust conversation. And there's a lot of parents out there who, uh, are wondering each and every day with each time that they interact with their child, am I doing this right? And so I know you wrote this new book, Boundless Love, and you shared lots of good tips and experiences from your own parenting days. Well, you're still in it, but from the younger part of it up until now, and now you have an adult child. So I'm sure you have a wealth of information that you're going to share with us tonight, and we're going to have some fun. And if anybody wants to comment, you can go ahead and comment in the comment section, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or just give you a shout out. So, uh, first, let me say happy podcast day.
Yeah, happy podcast day. Happy Friday the 13th. It's been
Yes,
good Friday the
Friday
13th.
the 13th.
Bless
Yes,
the Lord, because nothing has gone wrong today. So
that's right. And it's interesting because everybody really associates Friday the 13th with something being scary, and here we are talking about probably one of the scariest subjects around. The scariest things to do is to be a parent,
it's very
right?
scary.
And so, why would you characterize parenting as a frightening experience?
First of all, because you don't know what to expect. You
Hmm.
don't know what to expect from parenting. You don't know what it's going to be. Every child is unique and different in their own way. So you really don't know what you're getting,
Right.
honestly.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you can have two or three kids and they all have their own little personalities.
Hmm.
And what might work for one child may not work for the other.
Right.
And that's okay. So I think that's the most scariest thing about parenting. You don't know what to expect.
Okay. So, do you like haunted houses or things like that?
I actually do. I like that stuff.
And so, what turns you on about a haunted house?
What the rush, the adrenaline rush when you get scared.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a thrill seeker, so it's the adrenaline rush, and you
Okay.
definitely get that with parenting too.
So, do you prepare? Like, if you're going into a haunted house, do you mentally prepare? Like, I know something's going to jump out, or I don't know when, but uh, I'm going to see something scary, or how do you kind of prep yourself
I
for?
go in there expecting to get scared, but even as much as I prepare myself to go in there, I still jump.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm still scared, even though I'm going to be scared.
Right. And so, how would you compare that to parenting in terms of
So
prep?
as much as you mentally prepare and you read all these books, even my book, and you think you know it all, and you go into this parenting journey, there are still going to be twists and turns, and things are going to jump out at you, and you're not going to expect it.
Right.
So that's how I would compare that.
Okay. And you mentioned this earlier that every child is different. So I have twin granddaughters, and you would think that because they have very similar, I won't say exactly the same experiences, but they have very similar experiences in terms of how they're raised, their interactions. Maybe they have different group of friends, but overall, they have a very parallel life. But they're as different as the East from the West. And so in parenting, how do you navigate these different personalities, and even the personalities, they change.
So trial and error, honestly. You try something, it doesn't work, you try something else.
Okay.
There's always something else. Even when I'm at work, if a child doesn't want to do a task, you also have to find out why, the why behind everything.
Okay.
And once you find out that why, and you can find a motivating factor for that child. Okay, this child doesn't want to work on handwriting, or they're very defiant when it comes to mundane tasks that they don't want to do.
Right.
But like, for instance, I had a child who was obsessed in 9/11 just passed, but he's obsessed with that story. So it's like, okay, I need you to write a piece. Let's go on and look for 9/11 facts. And that motivated him to write. You have to look for a motivating, even with toileting children, you have to look for a motivating factor. What drives your child?
That's interesting. I was listening to something earlier today. It was Trevor Noah, and I forgot his guest. I know the guy's name was Adam something, but they were talking about motivating, particularly children. There was this experiment, and since you're in the science world, with therapy, you may have heard it, but it was called the marshmallow test, where they gave this a child, well, they put a marshmallow in front of a kindergartner, like a 5-year-old or whatever, and said, if you eat it now, then that's all you're getting. But if you hold off, then we'll give you 2. And then we'll give you 3. And so, the longer that you can hold off, you'll get more. But then there was also this other thing where they would ask the child, if you hold off eating your marshmallow, then there's another child that will also get an extra marshmallow. Even though the child's not in their present, they seem to be motivated to help this other child that they don't even know, and they would hold off just as much as they would hold off just to get a second one. And so when you mention motivation, it's interesting because we all have different things that inspire us, right? And children are inspired, I think, a multitude of ways, depending on what the subject is, because you can't just say my child is a motivated child. That's not a general statement like that, right? So how do you motivate children from day to day, month to month, year to year? How do you maintain that? And as a parent, like, what do you do?
So obviously the motivation component is going to change as they age. They're not going to be, when they're in middle school, they're not going to be motivated by marshmallows. Okay. They're going to be motivated by technology, phones, taking those away when things are not done. Actually having, taking away tablets and things and making sure that they get things done. Like my son, we just started this thing where I'm like, I'm taking your stuff if you're not going to do the dishes. I'm trying to reinforce chores with him, and he's not happy about it.
Okay.
But that's a motivating factor. If I work, I'm going to get this. And we're setting our children up for success, because in life, we even as adults, work reward. What is our reward? Our paycheck. We're able to provide for ourselves,
Yeah.
So we need to start setting our children up for success. and making sure we're doing work reward with them, because in life, all through life, it's all based on work reward if you look at it.
That's true. That's true. But
I found the marshmallow thing interesting with kindergartners, because I'm like, what if we try that with middle schoolers? I bet you it won't work, because it's the instant gratification that they get from things, and I bet impulsively they would eat that marshmallow, the first one. Right. It's interesting. I might try that with my middle schoolers, just as like a test to see, because I find that very interesting.
That would be. I mean, I'm sure you'll get some good research out of that. So talking about taking things away, like as a motivator, some people will look at it as punishment. But so what are your thoughts on being transactional like that? Because essentially, like what you described, we go to work so that we get a paycheck. So it's very transactional. We give hours, you give me money, right?
Exactly.
And with a child, in this case, with your son, you do your chores, you get your technology back, right? Or the reverse. If you don't do your chores, I take it. But there's been studies about going back to the employee-employer relationship, that a lot of employees, even though they want their money, they find more value in recognition, appreciation. Like you might give somebody a raise and keep giving them raises because they're doing a good job, but you're a horrible boss. You talk to them nasty. You don't congratulate them. You don't say kudos when they do a good job. You keep it transactional. So how with children, because there's no one way. In your book you talked about that. There's no one way to raise any child, right?
So I did talk, and there's a section in my book about specific praise. For every negative thing you say about a child, like, oh, you didn't do the dishes today, you should praise them with 10 positives.
Okay.
So for every negative. So that's in my book. And then I also do go into talking about the reward center of our brain and how our brain lights up. It's called the striatum. The striatum. Sorry. It's the center of our brain that recognizes rewards. So when we are praised for doing a good job, like I mentioned in my book, my son wasn't cleaning his room, and I went in there and I started nagging, but then a couple of his drawings crossed my eye, and I was like, oh my God, you're a great artist. I was praising him, not on his room being clean, but on his artwork. And as he was listening to me praise him, he started to pick up his room, because it was that positive reinforcement. Right. I'm not saying don't, you need to be firm with your children and be like, okay, you didn't do this, so you need to do it. But then when they do it, yes, you are supposed to praise them. Just like you feel good when your boss praises you for a good job.
Right.
Exactly. It's the same kind of concept.
That's true. That's true. Shout out to Greg Red Pill. He said, can we expect a follow-up to this book?
I am currently working on something that has nothing to do with parenting, but I could do another parenting book.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So staying in that realm of rewards and punishments, what are your thoughts in terms of your children participating in the creation of their punishment or reward?
How was I didn't
like what do you think about the child or children participating in the creation of their whatever system you put in place, either reward system or punishment system or whatever?
I think
merit system.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to have choices and choose what their reward is and what they're, just like when I'm at work, sometimes I have 3 or 4 activities. Okay, you don't like that one, you have 4 or 5 choices, so that you have some choice in your own, you have some independence in your choices. It's important to promote independence and them having their own choices, so they feel like they're part of something.
Okay. All right. And so how do you talk to your children?
In regards to?
Do you allow them to have a voice, or are you of the mind that a child should be silent?
A child should not be silent. It's important to validate a child's feelings. When I was a child, my feelings were not validated.
Okay.
And it has affected me as an adult. So I try my hardest to validate my son's feelings, both of them, when I can. They're children, but they also have a voice and they also have boundaries, and we need to respect that. And I do talk about boundaries in my book.
Okay.
What is a good boundary and what is a bad boundary. For instance, if your child does not like Brussels sprouts and you have Brussels sprouts for dinner, your child is giving you a boundary and saying, I don't want to eat these Brussels sprouts. And you're like, eat these Brussels sprouts. That's something I don't like beets. I would be appalled if somebody made me eat beets. So if your child doesn't like Brussels sprouts, that's okay. But if your child wakes up one morning and says, yeah, I don't feel like going to school, that's a different situation.
Right.
You need to figure out why they feel that way. Are they being bullied? Is something going on at school that you need to, contact the school and discuss it with a counselor or something? But they need to be going to school. So it's, what is a boundary and what is a child trying to press their own boundaries upon you, saying, well, that's my boundary, but you're the parent and you need to make those decisions.
All right. Well, speaking about boundaries, so when is it okay for the parent to push past a boundary that the child has identified? For instance, you talked about eating Brussels sprouts, eating beets, right? Mm-hmm. So say one of your sons, for the first time, you present some Brussels sprouts and he immediately says no before he tasted it, because he doesn't like the way it looks. It looks like a small cabbage. So it's like, is there a line between just introducing and affording an opportunity for your child to experience growth and learn different things versus just, okay, he said he don't like Brussels sprouts, I'm going to just let him not eat Brussels sprouts?
Absolutely. You should always encourage your children to try different things. Like my son, for instance, he used to be a picky eater, but if I gave him the Brussels sprouts and I'd be like, just try some, you might like it, I wouldn't push him too hard to the point where they shut down and they're not going to try it. So he tried eggs for the first time a while ago. And he, I didn't pressure him. I said, do you want to order them? It's up to you if you want to. We were at a restaurant. He said, fine. He did not like them. He said it felt like an alien threw up in his mouth. So he was not going to eat those eggs. And he does not. Yeah, he tried them over easy. I said, you should have got them scrambled.
Yeah, that's not the best way to try an egg for the first time.
Yeah. So he did end up eating scrambled eggs, and he does eat scrambled eggs now. But those easy over eggs, he was not.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, I know you don't have any girls, but you work with girls. What would you say might be some of the differences between raising a boy and raising a girl? Like, what are some things? I mean, you're a girl, so you're a woman. So you know what things you went through as a child and what you wanted and didn't want.
Honestly, I mean, I wish I had a girl. I talk about that in my book too. I have a girl dog. I dress up really nice, but I babysat girls. I treat girls. Girls listen more. I feel like but the attitude wise is worse. And I'm sorry, but they're more sneaky than boys are. Right. When it comes to lying, they're the best liar. Like the boys, I could tell, like when I'm at work, I could tell when the boys are lying. The girls, it's hard. It's difficult. Yeah. So
what's your take on how you raise a boy versus a girl, like in terms of what you allow? And I'll give you an example. Some parents with their boys, they're a little more lenient, maybe as it relates to curfews, doing certain things, maybe even having a girlfriend earlier on than some parents allow their daughters to be. So what's your take on that, and how would you what kind of advice would you give parents in terms of the differences between the two?
Unfortunately, there is a double standard.
Okay.
So I would always prepare both of them for life, for relationships. I think we need to start instilling self-worth
Mm-hmm.
into our ladies, our young ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that we need to self-worth and even into our young boys, and just to be out there and be careful of people, because this world is changing. There's social media, there's images, there's Kim Kardashian, Cardi B, and these girls are looking up to these role models that aren't the best role models for them. So you really got to watch what your kids are viewing. You need to be in your kids' life. You need to know who their friends are. I think that's very important.
Mm.
Who they're hanging. And this goes for girls and boys. I don't think that there's that much of a difference. Like I said, I've never raised a girl, but if I had a girl, and me being a young child, I remember not knowing a lot of things that my parents didn't tell me that I wish I knew now. Okay. About my self-worth and about who I am as a person, and not to look up to these false idols and these like hourglass figures, and I want to be like that and I want to get like that. And it's important not for them to have their own identity and not have a false identity, because I see a lot of girls even at the high school wearing these short little mid-dress like tank top shirts and stuff, and you're like 16, 15, full face of makeup. Honey, you don't need all of that. It's right. Being comfortable in your own skin is so important. And I want to teach young girls that you are beautiful in your own skin. You don't have to do all this or wear all this just for attention. Right. Just being secure within yourself is important for young girls, because I think that a lot of our young girls nowadays are very misguided, to be honest with you. And I see it all the time. And I actually report when they do wear those little, I'm like, listen, you got to go to Prince. You're showing too much. It's okay. Not acceptable. Go I make them go to their locker sometimes if they have jackets and put their jackets on, because no, okay, you're distracting the young boys from learning. Right. So it's important. And same thing for boys, to watch out for some girls out there. There are girls out there that are like my sons, like their relationships, and I'll get into that. They're not healed, and I talk about that in my book too. Actually, when you look for a partner, we need to instill in our kids, not to go through what we went through, whatever happened in your childhood. Mm-hmm. Heal, so you could be a healthy parent. And then you can, when you're a healthy parent, you can pick a healthy parent to have children with, and you both can come together as healthy individuals to create a healthy child. And mm-hmm. that is so important. So important.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So healthy yields healthy, and just like hurt people, as they say.
Exactly.
Right? So vice versa applies as well. So what are some things that as a child, under your parents' tutelage and development, did you bring to your parenting? And should parents kind of lean to what their parents did as an indicator for what they should do and or not do?
So what was the first part of that question? I'm sorry.
So when you were a child, and the way that your parents raised you, did you bring any of those things that your mom did with you and your dad did with you to your parenting style? So we'll start with that.
Honestly, I tried not to.
Okay.
My dad and mom split up when I was 15. I do talk a little about that in my book. What I don't talk about in my book was that my dad was an alcoholic. Okay. So I had a very hard childhood. My mom was kind of checked out from dealing with my dad and exhausted. So I did not get a lot of attention. My brother did not get a lot of attention growing up. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important. Words of affirmation is my love language, because I didn't get that as a kid. I didn't get, you did a good job, even though I did a good job, right. So I look for that praise sometimes still, because the little girl inside of me wants it. Right. So I'm recognizing that, and that's part of me that I'm healing and learning how to heal. So I didn't have the best childhood. So I raised my kids I say I love you to them all the time. My parents never, my dad has said it, but my mother has never told me I love you. So I make sure I'm always telling my kids I love you, always telling them they're a good job, because they're doing a good job, because I know that that's something that I really wanted when I was a child. So I try to instill that in them. I try to provide a peaceful environment that's nonviolent, and raise them in a way where they can come to me if they need something and they feel comfortable coming to me. I'm not their best friend. They know that. I am their parent first and foremost. So be careful what you tell me, because it could have repercussions depending what it is. But I'm always here for you. Even when you're older, I'm always here as an ear to listen and to lean on for wisdom and advice.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be God's advocate. So when you say you're not their friend or you're not their best friend, so when you look at God as your father, right, as your heavenly father, but he also says throughout the Bible that he's your friend. So should we take that and put that into our earthly parenting, or how do we balance that? Because
so God still wants you to obey, right? So
yes.
Is he your father first, or is he your friend first? Because if you're not obeying him,
Right.
there's repercussions to that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I would think so.
Okay.
So I think he's your father first and he's your friend second. So I will be your mother first and your friend second. You will obey me.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, the second part of the question was, um, should the way that a person was brought up, should that influence the way that they raise their child?
Whether you think about it or not, it does self-consciously. And that's when I talk about generational trauma in my book, and how we pass down our trauma to our children. So if you're not healthy subconsciously, that's going to trickle down to your children.
Okay.
It trickled down to me. That's how I know. Right. And I did a lot of healing and a lot of reading and a lot of therapy to get where I am today.
Right. Okay. So with me, I took, you know how they say, chew the fat and spit out the bones, or whatever, chew the meat and spit out the bones. So I took from my parents those things that I thought were the most beneficial and applied it as a parent. And then those things that I didn't like or that rubbed me the wrong way, I did the opposite of those things. So either way, my parents, the way they raised me, did influence the way that I raised. Because some things you'll be totally gung ho about because you love this about your mom or you love this about your dad. Maybe your dad always. I have a friend that she has game nights with her children, and I know you talked about that in your book. She has game nights with her children, and I was like, dang, I wish, I would have thought about that, or I would have been introduced to that idea when I was raising my children, because we didn't have like a specific night that they just looked forward to. And even though they're young adults now, they still look forward to, coming home to do game nights. So that's something that I would have taken into my parenting. Whereas there might have been something that kind of turned you off from your parents, and you like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, we grew up in a generation, or I did. I can't say this, but where discipline was getting spanked by your parent, somebody in the neighborhood. Um, Teachers couldn't do it to us, but I was talking to another young lady who also wrote a book, Teresa Mean. She wrote a book about her experience in Cameroon, and uh, the teachers, the principal, neighbors, the aunts, uncles, the mom, everybody could spank them for the same reason.
It really takes a village. It really does. And that's not to say I didn't have a positive role model in my life. I had my grandmother. I modeled my parenting from my grandmother. She had 7 kids. I spent summers at her house, weekends at her house. I would cry if I couldn't go to grandma's. My grandmother was my peace.
Well, how important is community?
extremely important to have people to lean on for support.
All right. And so what does a village look like to you for your children?
A village looks like people you can call and ask for parenting advice and be able to vent and be a shoulder and a pillar of strength. Right. Somebody you can call when you need a break. Hey, I'll take your kids these days, and you could take a break, go out with the husband or whatever, and you can take my kids this day, and just having that community, or even within your family.
Mm-hmm. Definitely need help. So you can't do it alone. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And my mom is a great grandmother. My mom is a great, she really, when I was pregnant, and I talk about it in my book, she stepped up. She helped me. If it wasn't for my mother in that sense, like, I know my mother, she's never told me she loved me, but I know she has, because she stepped up after I had my child, and she helped me. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to graduate high school.
Right.
I'm not saying she is a bad mother in any ways. My mom did what she had to do.
Well, that brings up a great point. So some parents, and this happens in relationships too, but some people will show their love in a way that they believe they're demonstrating it, but the recipient of it is not getting it, or is not feeling it like it's being sent, if that makes sense.
It does.
And you mentioned,
go into the love languages, because everybody has a different
you mentioned love languages earlier. So our audience may not know what love languages are. So there's 5 love languages. It's a book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. David Chapman.
Yes.
And there's several different. There's love languages of teenagers, love languages of parents, love languages of kids. But the original one was just called The 5 Love Languages. So let's talk about love languages and what does it mean when it comes to being a parent. So you talked about yours is words of affirmation. That's one of the love languages. Being praised, somebody saying, "Good job, you did great, keep it up," that type of thing. So that's one. Mm-hmm. Name some of the other ones, and I'll help you if you don't remember all of them.
Oh, I know all of them. Okay. So there's acts of service, doing something nice for other people. So there's acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, giving somebody stuff. Mm-hmm. That's another love language. And then there is quality time, spending time with somebody. That's another one of mine. Mm-hmm. Making sure you get quality time in. So what I say, acts of service, I'm trying to remember all of them.
So you're just missing one.
I'm just missing one. Which one am I missing?
Affection,
yes. Physical touch. How could I miss that one? Physical touch, being close to somebody, being near, intimacy, basically.
Right. So how does that influence your parenting? Like, how can a parent first try to understand the 5 love languages and then engage or activate it in their family dynamics?
There's nothing to it but to do it. You have to try each one and see what works, honestly. Okay. If you don't know your child, that, sometimes your children and you see it, how you know somebody's love language? A lot of the times people try to at first love you in their love language. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, so you're doing things for me, so acts of service must be your love language.
Right.
So it's that kind of situation. Like,
so let's make it layman. Let's talk in layman's terms so people can really understand it. So if you were my mom and you kept on giving me praise every time I did something well, or in your eyes, but then I was misbehaving more than usual. How should I frame this? Like, walk me through what would be your course of action if you didn't immediately know what your child's love language is.
Okay, so that's words of affirmation. So that's obviously not your love language if you're my child. So I'm like, okay, let's try something else. Let's try me doing something for you. Okay. Acts of service. Hey, if you do this, or, hey, you're feeling kind of lonely, let's go to the movies. Do you want to go to the movies? See if that works.
Okay.
If acts of service is not it, I saw that new video game come out. Do you want to go to the store and we can get that? You've done such a good job in school. You've got all straight A's. Let's go get you a video game.
Okay. So that's gifts.
Yeah. So it's just testing the waters and seeing what sticks and what works.
Okay. So, what would you do in terms of touch?
Hugs. There's a lot of kids that don't get affection. Even my students, like they just come up and hug me because they don't get it at home, and that's their love language.
Right.
And I hate, they're older. We're like fist bumps. You got to do fist bumps. But sometimes these kids just need a hug.
Right. Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So you have your book there, right?
No,
you don't?
I don't.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna read.
I forgot to grab a copy. I'm so sorry. I don't even have my own book.
That's all right. That's all right. So I'm going to pick a page and I'm going to just read a little bit, and then I want you to just kind of elaborate. Okay. So this is from chapter 5. Change is inevitable. Embracing the chaos. Change is a part of life, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may feel. Since becoming a mother, my goals were not exclusively about me, but they changed to include my son. One of my main objectives now was to provide him with a better lifestyle than the one I had experienced. Let me just stop right there. So when you become a parent, what does that do to you and your lifestyle? What should it do? What should a parent expect for having a child to do? Like some parents like keep running as if they don't have a child. They still go partying every night. They still drink. They do just about everything the same. And so I'm not going to say that's good or bad, but I just want to say, I just want to ask, how does typically, or how should parents expect to have to kind of make some adjustments when they become a parent?
Not everything is about you anymore. Mm-hmm. You have to make sacrifices for your children. Mm-hmm. It's important because at the end of the day, you not being present and them seeing what you do, mm-hmm. it's impacting them mentally. You might not think so because you're out there, but they're taking note of this.
Right.
They're taking note of everything in their little brains. So it's really important to make sacrifices and compromises. Life has to change. It just does. If you want to raise good, healthy kids.
Right. And so is that what every parent's goal should be?
To raise healthy children?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I believe so. I do.
All right.
You should strive for that.
You have a quote in here by Sadhguru that says, "Children only come through you; they don't come from you." So, kind of explain that, and then connect it with this chaos that could happen as a result of becoming a parent.
So, children do not belong to you; they're not yours. They're here for their own purpose. Mm-hmm. I had to come to terms with that when people say that the hardest years are when they're younger. I don't think so. For me personally, the hardest years are right now when they're adults and they're leaving and they're out in this crazy world and you don't know what's going on and where they are at all times. When they're younger, you have more control over that. So I have to remember that my son, who is in Utah, has his own purpose and he's living that purpose. Okay. And even though I'm his mom, we'll always be tethered. We needed to separate for him to do his own thing and branch out and be an adult. And it was hard for me to come to terms with that. In regards to the chaos, how does that tie in with the chaos of parenting? Mm-hmm. I would say the chaos is actually lesser when they're adults, I guess. But I mean, when they're younger, there's more chaos. I'm trying to give you an answer that's The chaos is within me now. It's not outside of me. I'm not. I am not at peace, not knowing what's going on. That's where the chaos comes from now, I think.
Okay.
If that kind of answers your question.
Mm-hmm. So like that quote talks about they don't come from you, they just come through you. To me, it speaks to you as a parent being a change agent. Like, so now you have this responsibility, this person or these people, right? And there's a broader picture. Yes, I have to raise them, but for what purpose, right? So I get to raise them. I don't want to say have to. I get to raise these children for what purpose? Well, the purpose is what you said, so I can have healthy adults, healthy humans, right? Good citizens or whatever, whatever is the end goal here. It's usually a bigger picture than just so I can be happy in my household and my child can be good, but my child can be good in the society and be productive overall, right? Because we're stewards.
Yeah, so
That's
they
all.
can serve their purpose and have children of their own and have their children serve their purpose.
Mm-hmm. It's just a cycle of stewardship, right? Okay. So we're going to take a quick break and play a little game. So
Yay.
this is kind of like word association. It's called mastermind. And so you only have 1 second or two, a couple seconds to to respond. I'll say a word or a phrase, and you respond with whatever comes to mind first.
Okay, I'm a
Okay.
little nervous. Sorry. I like games. So.
It's all in fun. So let's see. All right, here we go. Michael Jackson or Prince?
Michael Jackson. Oh, that was a hard one.
All right. Snow, a skiing trip or a beach trip?
Oh, beach.
Okay. Jazz, hip hop, classical, R&B, or gospel?
Hip hop.
All right. Celebrity, crush. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Celebrity crush. Childhood celebrity crush.
Childhood celebrity crush.
Mm-hmm.
Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block.
Okay. All right. Favorite book?
Favorite book? The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Who would you take on a deserted island with you for 2 weeks?
For 2 weeks? My boyfriend.
Okay. What's the best and then what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I've been given was to mind my own business, honestly. Because when you stay in your own lane, you have less problems. So I know it's generic, but people would just mind their own business. The worst advice I was given. What was the worst? I don't know. Oh my gosh, this one's a hard one. The worst advice I was ever given. I can't think of anything.
Okay. Trains, planes, automobiles, or ships?
Ships.
Okay. Dream vacation. Place.
Santorini, Greece. It's my screensaver on my phone.
Okay. All right. Why? We're gonna deviate. Why?
Why? because it looks relaxing and beautiful, and being in the mountains and looking down and seeing the water, I just think it's an amazing place. It looks amazing in pictures. So
Okay. 10-year outlook. Where do you see yourself?
where do I see myself in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a motivational speaker. I really want to like influence young women, and yeah, I really want to branch out a little bit and help the youth, because I feel like I said, I feel like they're misguided.
Right. Okay.
And I want to write more books.
Yes. What's the other question? What would you say is the best? Well, I'll come back to that. Who was your favorite teacher?
Who's my favorite teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Salem was my favorite teacher in high school. I
What
used to
grade?
get in trouble a lot. He was 11th grade, and he used to be in ISS when when I'd get in trouble. So
Okay.
it'd be boring because we would have nothing to do. So he would like start a storyline, send it
Mhm.
over to me, and I'd write half of the story. Like if I was hanging off a cliff, what would you do? And I'd write half the story. Then I'd give it to him, and he'd write like another part. And so he'd
Oh,
make ISS actually fun. So
okay.
that's when I started to like writing too, like my own like little storyline. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Salem. He's a principal over in Richfield High School now. So
Okay. That's a good idea. I like that. I like that. So the best way to uh, address a problem, like, do you have a system?
communication is the best way to address a problem. If you have a problem, communicate your problem. But delivery matters too. Let's communicate it in a respectful way and not
Okay.
nagging or sounding defensive or, you know.
Okay. And last question: if you ruled the world, what are 3 things that you would do?
No more war, peace. Peace is important
Mm-hmm.
to me. Um, currency, like the barter system changing. If I ruled the world, groceries would be cheaper if I ruled the world. How about that one?
All right.
Groceries would be cheaper if I ruled the world. And the third thing is uh, more time. I feel like people need more time off, honestly. Like I feel like we work too much. I would
Mhm.
do a 4-day work week if I could.
Okay. Some countries do that.
I think it would be beneficial in this country for that. So I would instill that. Like we work all our lives and then we die. It's like we need to live, like really live. So less work for
I
people.
think I'm trying to think which countries I heard that. It's like some European countries they only do 4-day.
I
Um,
heard that too.
yeah. And then it's mandatory lunch. Like they make you take a lunch time. Their lunch periods are longer. I can't remember the countries I saw, but they'll have like 3-hour lunch. Um, different things. In fact, today I also heard that China, um, they are just now thinking about raising the retirement age because previously, um, I think 50 or 52 or something like that, you had to retire by 52. Whereas, of course, out here, it keeps going up 65, 70. But they're thinking about moving it to 50, I think 58.
I think they were thinking about, actually, I read something that they were thinking about doing the same thing here.
But raising it some more,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure. Well, people, even without them raising it, because of the way the economy has been for the longest, doesn't matter which president, but the things have gone up. So it's like you're gonna have to work longer anyway, just to continue to pay your house or pay your, your children's education or your own education. So
Yeah.
it's
And
gonna
it's so
keep going
funny
up.
you said that, because in China or Japan, I just read there's a man who worked 114 days straight without a day off, and he just passed away.
Hmm. Wow.
He got sick, and yeah, and I believe he was in his 50s.
Okay. Oh, this is the last one. So your favorite either quote or song or lyric from a song.
My favorite song, my favorite quotes. It's actually the quote I put in my book.
Okay. Okay.
Sanguru's quote. That's why it was so meaningful. I'll tell you why the quote is so important to me, because when my son suddenly moved to Utah, it was really hard on me.
Okay.
And I was watching a YouTube video in which he said it. And he might have got it from somewhere else. I don't know where it originated from, but I heard him say it. And it resonated with me at a time where I was very emotional. I was, crying at the time, and it just spoke to me. It was like, everything's okay. Your child is out there in this world serving another purpose. I know it seemed like you didn't get your goodbye that you wanted, but he comes through you. You whether you know it or not, as a parent, you molded him.
Right.
You gave him the life skills, and now he's out there living that life. And it kind of at that moment put my nerves at ease.
So you said somebody said this to you, or your son?
No, I was on YouTube. I love
Okay.
YouTube. I'm always researching. I'm always watching YouTube videos and trying to gain more knowledge and insight on different topics.
Right.
And I just happened to be and I think it was God's way. And I think he sent that video towards me, because I feel like that when he said that line, and I was actually drawing or doing something. I think I was in the middle of like writing this book while I was like listening. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I paused the video. I got a paper and a pen. And when I hear quotes or different things, I always write them down that resonate with me. It's just like my brain, even though I was in my writing and it was in the background, my brain just heard that.
Right. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
So speaking of YouTube, you guys are watching YouTube. This is the Mo Mindful Show, and we want you to share, subscribe, and press that like button. So again, share, subscribe, and press that like button. So thank you for joining us, everybody. So thank you. Wrong one. All right.
How many buttons do you have over there?
So I'm multi-buttoned.
I see.
All right. So we're going to come back to the interview now. We have just a few more minutes. So Juliana, of course, we want people to buy your book, and there's a couple of different ways. I'll put that on the screen now. You can buy it at boundlesslovethebook.com.
My website, yes.
And so let me switch this up, because we really want people to buy it at Boundless. Not on Amazon. You could buy it on Amazon as well. So while I'm doing this, just speak about how people can reach you, and where they can find the book.
So I am on social media. My professional page is Juliana Liriano. My name is on the screen. That's what it is. As far as Instagram, you can reach me at truly_Jules99. That's my IG handle. We all have our social media. I'm more on IG than I am on Facebook. I try to get on when I can. I have TikTok too, but I think my TikTok is the same, truly_Jules. I don't go on there much either, but I am on Instagram a lot. So you can really find me on Instagram. I'm going to post more to my professional page, quotes, insights, inspiration, advice, articles that I think will be beneficial, that I read that might be beneficial to you. So I am going to try to be on social media more.
Okay. Awesome. And again, so here's the website, boundlesslovethebook.com, all one word, .com. And again, you can reach Juliana at on Facebook at Juliana Liriano, and on Instagram, truly_Jules, JULES 99.
Yes.
And, so what are let's say three pieces of advice that you want to leave parents with?
So I talk about there's no one size fits all to parenting.
Okay.
So there's that one. Parenting is not a destination, it's a journey, and it's a continuous journey for the rest of your life.
So you said there's no one size fits all. So what's the actual application of that? So what does that mean? Translate.
So what might work for one child might not work for another.
Okay.
So you can't use the same approach for every single child and expect it to work. What might work for somebody else's kid might not work for your child either.
Right.
You know, I talk about how other parents in my book, like other parents will tell you, you know, this worked for my kid, try it with yours. And,
Right.
you know, the know-it-all parent, there's know-it-all parents out there. Let's face
Right.
it. So,
Right.
and relatives too, like, so.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Parents get in your business, other relatives, siblings get in your business, especially when, even the ones who don't have children, somehow they're experts on raising children now. So
Yes.
they will get in your business. However, you mentioned earlier that community is important. So sometimes you want to lean to them, and it's okay to get ideas from somebody else, and then you weigh it because maybe you didn't think of something. Even if it's somebody who doesn't have a child, maybe because they have a different perspective, and be like, well, why don't you just try this? So um, I would add to that to make sure that you're open.
You
You're
should
open
be
to
open.
what your children say. You're open to what other people say. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So you're open to all these different things. Um,
No, yeah, just try not to get so frustrated if somebody gives you parenting advice and they're upset that you're not taking it, and they're just, you can't get frustrated. Just, I'll take what you said into consideration, but at the end of the day, just realize you are the parent, you are the one behind the wheel, you're the one driving.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for joining us, Miss Juliana. It's been a pleasure. I know we only spent an hour, and you couldn't go through everything, but this is why we have the book, you guys. Make sure you
Exactly.
get out there. Um, you go to boundlesslovethebook.com. Check out her website, beautiful website, and you can also, if you're uh, have an Amazon account and you prefer to buy it directly through Amazon, it can be found on Amazon too. And we're going to ask you two things, two favors.
Yes.
We want any and everybody who buys the book to make sure that you give a rating. So
Please,
go back
a
into your
review.
Amazon, a
Actually,
review.
review the book.
Right.
Sorry, Bella wants to make her appearance at the end of our show.
Hi,
So,
Bella.
hi, she's going to she's going to the groomers on
Oh,
Sunday to
okay.
get the
All
haircut.
right. So she can see.
Yes. She's got an appointment.
Cool, cool. So make sure that you all go and you do a review. You rank it, give her 5 stars, and you do a review. And the review does not have to be long. It could just say, "I love the book," or "She likes
Reviews.
affirmations."
Yes.
Great
Reviews.
job, Juliana.
Thank
You
you.
can just put that. So whatever you all do, continue to support this young lady. She is an aspiring speaker also. So if you reach out to her, I'm sure she'll be open to giving you opportunity to have her speak at your meeting, your presentation, your parent groups. Any parent groups out there, contact Juliana. Again, I'll put that on the screen. Reach out to her and let her know that you'd like to have her at your event. So with that, we're going to close out. Again, thank you, Juliana. I look forward to rereading this book multiple times and sharing some of the tips with my daughter, who's a parent, and with other parents.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Enjoy your weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.